This is a polycarbonate model, one of 3 that I made for a knife that I'm going to make for a friend of mine that asked me to make a knife for a friend of his. This is not the right one though. I made 3 models, one of them was an exact duplicate of the original I copied it from. That is the one he chose to use for the finished knife. I made a big mistake and I went out and cut grass, or mowed the lawn if you're a Yankee, and I had that polycarbonate model in my pocket when I did it, and that was a very, very bad idea because when I did that, it fell in my pocket and now it is gone. So I'm going to have to copy the original again, which I don't have. So this one, I think, this is the original, yes. That is a couple of the other ones, so that's the original. Very, very, very slight difference. We have this pussy laugh, we're gonna overlay it. Is it possible? Okay. We fit, okay. Follow that curve. Last time I used a 3/8 inch wide bandsaw blade, did not work too well, so we're gonna switch to a 1/4 inch now. I'm actually not gonna do anything else to these scales right now because I want to get steel, which I totally forgot to order. I'm gonna drill all the holes at once. Just drill through everything, all at once. So I know they'll all be lined up. That makes a lot of sense to me. Drill the steel and use that as a template. I don't want to use this as a template for steel. That won't go very well. While we're waiting, we can do something though. I did get these, which is tongs, which a friend of mine bought for me because we were making a knife together, and I guess he bought it for me as payment. So I want to make up one of these. These are forge out tongs, so you buy these are blanks, and then you forge your tongs out of that. I did a really crummy job on that. Not even close to center. It looks pretty good actually. We're gonna knock the top of this thing just a touch, just to keep it from falling out. Okay. Now we're going to create our bite by putting this piece of 3/16 steel in there, touching the thin side, and then we're going to, well, it's about 3/16 thick, and then we're going to create that thickness that we want on this one. Wow! Is that not the coolest thing ever? A see-through knife. Really, really handy because you can tell where pivot pins are gonna go, where stop pins are gonna go, where everything should go. And it's much easier to work with than steel. It makes a whole lot of sense. This is so cool. I remember that I can actually make the blade for this thing because that's definitely holding me back for that. We're gonna cut that stuff wide. I wanna have lots of material to work with. I'm actually pretty happy with how that looks. We can drill the pivot hole. I don't really want to do too much more until I get my titanium in for the liners. Just to make things go smoother, we're gonna countersink this just a tiny bit, just to get rid of that burr. So this is titanium, 6L4V titanium. It's a very, very cool material. It's non-magnetic, very light, very flexible, very strong. So I found out the absolute best thing to use is titanium. Everyone that makes these kind of knives, everyone that makes liner locks, they're all saying one thing. Listen to Riley. This actually marks pretty good on this, so we're gonna try the pencil. If I go that way, I bet I can get a pocket clip out of that piece. Now, if you're thinking how nerve-wracking it would be working with something like expensive, like titanium, what if you mess it up, you know, all that? I'm not nervous at all because this costs about as much as steel. We are on number 5 speed-wise. That's almost as fast as it goes. I think that's okay because it's thin material, soft material, fast, right? You know what's really weird? This thing barely heated up with all that grinding. Super weird. See how it files. It's probably pretty easily. That didn't sound easy. Whoa. That sounds awful. This is going to be one side, this is going to be one side, and we're going to have a scale. So this is all the materials we're going to have. Actually, not quite. We're also going to have a piece like this. Now, this is going to be a little bit complicated when it comes to this piece because this piece needs brass or steel set in it, threaded. So I'm going to drill holes larger than I need, poke a piece of steel in there, and I'm going to thread like a steel rod. It's like exactly the same thickness. That's so cool. This could be the dumbest thing I've ever done. It could be the best thing I've ever done, but I'm going to drill everything all at once and hope it stays straight. 5mm, yes, this is a 5mm drill bit. I'm pretty sure it's going to work fine. Let's hope so. It's not round. I call that triangulating. When the bit isn't ground right, it'll always make these little tri-lobe shapes. So this bit is not ground right. So normally I do an M3 thread, screw, but this is kind of big for this knife, so I'm going to do an M2. Which I've had a lot of bad experiences with. This is going to be a nightmare. Okay, we look good. Back wondered a tiny bit. Somebody's probably going to scream at me for doing this and it's going to be like, oh no, it's going to be so inaccurate. Now your holes are going to be oblong. It's not going to be, yeah, whatever. Okay, what up next? Let's look at this. Take one of these screws. These are going to have to be cut. These are super long, but you get a shorter one and cut it. This is an M2. That is a tiny screw right there. Let's see if it fits through the hole. Yep, it fits perfect. So you can use English drill bits to do metric things. Like this is the 16th that I'm going to use for the threading it. Worked great. 5/30 seconds for clearance. Worked amazing. I guess what we're kind of thinking we might as well kind of sink the pivot screw, which is going to be a 3/8 Chicago screw. Now for me, that is the hard part of these scales done. Now these are pretty much complete as far as my mind goes because grinding them and shaping them is so much easier for me than all this complicated stuff. Okay, where would a thumb stud look good? Be like there. I'm over here just working away and then totally forgot about you. But I'm threading the hole. It's working fairly well. I need to get my oil over here. Okay, so this blade isn't finished sanded or anything, but it's gonna stay about this thickness. Maybe I could grind it a little bit. It's not gonna change that thickness that much though, so we're just gonna go with it. And this is going to be our thickness. So we have this. It's 2 washers plus the blade. That right there. That's going to be the gap. It's a little bit large. I never actually use these pure by themselves because I always end up hammering them out and flattening them because I hate how thick they are. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to commit some sacrilege here and use my joiner table. Okay, now we can actually measure this. So now we have washer, sanded, other washer, sanded. Now we're going to measure. Perfect. That's our thickness. Now there's the big question, and that is